Welcome to the Bureau of Market Research at the University of South Africa. The Bureau of Market Research, or BMR, conducts commissioned research in South Africa to shape future research and to impact on society. We conduct research across all 9 provinces, and occasionally the BMR is commissioned by institutions to conduct research studies and to collect statistical information from households and businesses to impact on future decision making of our country. Now, one of the organizations which recently commissioned the Bureau of Market Research to conduct a study on their behalf is the National Lotteries Commission of South Africa. Now, the first thing that comes to mind when thinking of the NLC is the buying of lottery tickets, Lotto, Lotto plus one, and even playing Powerball. Now, within this context, the task of the NLC is to regulate lottery ticket sales in South Africa. However, they also have another mandate, and that is to provide funding or grants to organizations that support good causes. We are well aware of the funding of charities, sports, arts, and culture organizations. Now, the NLC, through a trust fund, use the proceeds or then the income from lottery ticket sales to fund these organizations. And this brings us now to the study for which you have been recruited as an interviewer. And the title of the study reads, An Impact Evaluation Study for Early Childhood Development Legacy Projects Funded by the National Lotteries Commission. Now, from the start, we need to make it clear that the aim of this study is to determine whether the funding of organizations by the National Lotteries Commission have in fact impacted on communities who potentially benefit from such funding projects. Now, to collect information to answer questions related to the study, an interviewer training manual has been developed to guide you as interviewer. Your responsibilities of interviewers to collect data from National Lottery Grant Funding Organizations, or ECDs, and communities who potentially benefit from such funding are outlined in this training manual. Now, before proceeding with the training, I would firstly like to thank you for agreeing to act as interviewer for the study. You will also be informed that several interviewers have been recruited across South Africa in all 9 provinces, and this video has specifically been manufactured to ensure a standard approach in conducting the interviews among ECD funded organizations. You have been recruited specifically in your community because you know the area, you know the culture, and also the language. And we would really like to encourage you to take your role as interviewer very seriously, as the quality of information collected in your community will be essential for future funding of organizations that impact on society and hopefully will also change the lives of many people. With this as background, I will then like to welcome you as part of the BMR NLC fieldwork team. Thank you for making yourself available. Now, to prepare you for your task as an interviewer, this training manual will provide you some background on the National Lotteries Commission, the research study objectives, and most importantly, your responsibilities as an interviewer, as well as your remuneration and the quality control that will be exercised during this survey. Thus, any time when you have any reference to make back in terms of your role and responsibilities, always refer back to the training manual which was supplied to you by your fieldwork manager at the time of your recruitment. First and foremost qualification criteria for you as an interviewer is that you will have to have access to a mobile computer, a tablet, or a smartphone. And this is important to complete the questionnaires and to take photo images of the ECDs which you will be visiting. All the tasks of an interviewer are outlined in this training manual. We start with a background on the NLC, highlighting that the NLC provides grant funding specifically to non-profit entities like NGOs, sports bodies, and even cultural bodies. Now, the funding is provided with an aim, and the aim is to secure measurable positive social change in societies, to expand social welfare, improve living conditions, and also to generally uplift society. Now, this is part of the goal of this specific study. We would like to determine whether these goals are achieved by the National Lotteries Commission, and therefore they've appointed the Bureau of Market Research, of which you will now be part of the team, to conduct an impact evaluation study for early childhood development legacy projects funded by the National Lotteries Commission. Now, just to guide you in terms of what we mean under infrastructure projects funded by the National Lotteries Commission, it includes, among other, the delivery of equipment, outside play equipment for creches, infrastructure, school buildings and classroom containers, or even facilities such as sanitation facilities funded by the National Lotteries Commission. Now, for the 2019 study, 191 early childhood development facilities, buildings and containers or ECD classrooms have been sampled or selected for evaluation across all 9 provinces. Now, typically ECD centers that you go into interview will be creches, daycare centers for young children, a playgroup, a preschool, or an after-school care facility. Now, the training manual guides you in terms of the understanding of the concept of early childhood development, which is defined as the all-round development of children to help them to further develop into childhood and adulthood. ECD refers to children from birth to 9 years. The development of babies, toddlers and young children from the foundation for all further development that a child undergoes, and specifically childcare services, represent much more than just simply a drop-off location for working parents. They play a very important role in the development of children. They give them an opportunity to engage with a variety of educational and social activities. Now, during early childhood development, various physical, cognitive and emotional development takes place, and this development is crucial for readying children for school. You will note from the training manual that in South Africa, ECD, or early childhood development, has taken priority in many legislative documents, national policies and strategies. Now, to familiarize you with the typical ECD facilities, the training manual also contains some nice photo images. To the left-hand side, an example of a ECD container classroom. To the right-hand side, top ECD building, and then also a nice example of an edutainer, and more around edutainers can be read on the Bright Kids Foundation website included in the training manual. The training manual also familiarizes you with the concept of an edutainer, which is an instant classroom made from a 12-meter shipping container, ideal for preschool classrooms taking up to 25 children. It's an innovative and practical way to address the problem of scarce, inferior early childhood education in South Africa. And you can sense also the advantages of edutainer while reading through the description of an edutainer in the training manual. Now, a conversion process happens to ensure that the edutainer is fitted with windows and doors and insulation, electricity. It's being furnished and then delivered to a community and installed on prepared concrete foundations. It's plentifully stocked then with carefully selected books for the kids to read, teaching aids and educational toys. More on edutainers can be read in the training manual. Now, which research questions do we try to answer in this research study? We are trying to determine whether ECD funded projects are effectively functioning, to reach the NLC goals, which we emphasized earlier? Has the funding actually contributed to effective functioning of ECDs, and has it resulted in the good developmental return for the beneficiary organizations or communities in which they function? Now, to answer these questions, 2 questionnaires has been developed: a grant holding questionnaire and a community questionnaire. Now, grant holding or beneficiary organizations for this study, ECDs, are then defined as those who received NLC funding for infrastructure development. Now, they will be represented by the owner of the organization or the ECD, a person who maybe serves on the school governing body of that ECD, or a senior person who deals most with the NLC funding at the ECD. In the study, the community will be represented by ECD staff and parents who enroll their children at this ECD and potentially benefit from the funded project. Now, separate questionnaires has been designed, one online and one in the form of a soft copy format. For the online, separate web links have been created, and the web links are contained in the training manual. More on questionnaire design and completion in training video 2. You will also see in your interviewer training manual the soft copies embedded in the training manual, one referring to the grant holder questionnaire embedded as a soft copy, and then also a community questionnaire embedded as a soft copy. How to access and retrieve these questionnaires and to complete them with the respondents will be explained in training video 2. If we then go down the training manuals in terms of interviewer task, the following functions are expected to be performed by you. Firstly, to verify whether the operations of an ECD is in fact happening. For this, you will be doing a physical site visit to a ECD. You will have to verify, point number 2 there, whether the ECD in fact received the NLC funding and that the funded project is or has been implemented. Once the existence of the project has been confirmed, your first task will then be to interview the owner, who will provide you with a self-assessment of the impact of the NLC funding on the organization and the community. After interviewing the owner, and if requested to do so, you will also interview one staff member at the ECD and one community member represented by the parent. Both of them will be interviewed to obtain their own self-assessment of the impact of the NLC funding on the member and the community. The training manual further goes on to say that it's very important to note that staff and community interviews will not be required for each and every project that will be measured or assessed. Whereas interviews will be conducted with all 191 project owners of ECDs, only staff and community interviews will be conducted for 45 projects. The number of interviews will be clearly outlined in the interview schedule that you will receive from your fieldwork manager, which you should strictly adhere to. The interviewer schedule list to be interviewed and visited in your area where you were recruited will be provided to you by your fieldwork manager. Now, the interviewer training manual provides a nice example on how you need to go about in your interviewing task. Now let's just read through the example. Thokozani Creche, which we in our example said is an ECD facility, received funding from the NLC to start a creche in the Lombazi village in the northwest province of South Africa. Ms. Tubu, which is the headmistress of the school, successfully applied for the NLC funding, and Ms. Adams and Ms. Nguni are teachers at the creche, and Mr. Bongi is a parent whose 3-year-old daughter Lisa is enrolled at the creche. So with this example, what is the responsibility of an interviewer? Your responsibilities will be as follows. Firstly, you will interview the project owner or the headmistress, Ms. Kubu. You will complete the grant holder questionnaire with Ms. Kubu. Now you will see that as part of completing the questionnaire, the owner or Ms. Kubu will be requested to also provide names of staff members and parents who enrolled their children at the creche, and from this list that has been provided by the owner, you will also, only if required, interview one teacher and one parent. That brings us then to your interview of your second respondent. So you will interview an employee of the beneficiary organization with any one of the teachers employed. So in this case, you will not complete the grant holder questionnaire, but the community questionnaire, and you will see they very clearly branded as grant holder and community questionnaires. You will complete the community questionnaire with either teacher, Ms. Adams or Ms. Gooney. So your third task then, in this example, will be to interview a community member, which in this case will be a parent who has enrolled a child at the ECD. And in our example, this will be Mr. Bongi. Now for Mr. Bongi, you will complete another community questionnaire. So the same questionnaire which you completed with the staff member will also be completed with the parent. Mr. Bongi, in his capacity as parent, represents the community in this regard. Your fourth responsibility is to take a photo of the ECD which you are visiting. So after seeking the consent, you have to get the permission from the project owner. Please use your smartphone to take a photo of the organization. In this case, you will take a picture of the Thokozani Creche with the name of the ECD facility clearly visible in the photo image. Save the photo image under either the project name or organization name, and then return it to your fieldwork manager who initially recruited you. Please note that you will receive a list of ECDs that you must interview. The address and telephone number of each ECD that received NLC grant funds will be provided to you at the time of your recruitment. Each project will have a unique project number, and in some cases they don't have numbers, then you deal with them in terms of the organization name. You will then use this information to track the beneficiary organization and to conduct the interview. Only follow the interviewer schedule, which will clearly indicate the number of interviews that will be required per project. Do not exceed these numbers, please, as you will not be remunerated for them if they are not listed in your schedule. Now let's just look at a simple example. In this example, you will be requested to interview 3 creches: Thokozani Creche, Siamoya Daycare Center, and Nkwalini Creche. For the Thokozani Creche, we are expecting you in this schedule to interview the owner, one project staff member, a staff member of Thokozani Creche, and a parent whose child is enrolled at Thokozani Creche, adding up to 3 interviews for Thokozani Creche. For Siamoya Daycare Center, the schedule shows Only one owner to be interviewed, no staff or parents in this case. The same with Nkwalini Creche. So in total, your schedule shows interviews with 1, 2, 3 owners, only one staff member of Thokozani Creche, only one parent of Thokozani Creche, adding to 5 interviews for all 3 creches. So to reiterate, for Thokozani Creche, 3 interviews. 1 with the project owner, the headmaster, Kubu. 1 with a community member, Ms. Adams or Nguni, which is a staff member. And 1 with community member 2, which is the parent, Mr. Bongi. So for the Siamoya Daycare Center, only 1 interview with the owner, and the same with the Nkwalini Creche, only 1 interview with the owner. Important to note that ideally you should contact the ECD which you will be visiting up front. The telephone contact details are there, or Google the name of the organization to check whether the contact details provided are accurate. Now contact them up front to specifically accurately locate the organization, because surely you don't want to arrive at your destiny and you've got the wrong location. As already recommended, use Google Maps maybe to determine your exact location of the organization before going for the site visit. You are also expected only to interview persons above the age of 18 years. If the ECD is not traceable, please take a photo of the site for which the physical address was provided, and if possible, organizations or community members located nearest to this non-existing ECD or school should confirm the non-existence of the beneficiary organization. And this information should also then clearly be displayed on the questionnaire. So your task description goes on. In case you find it difficult to conduct interviews with specifically staff or community members such as the parents, please report this then to your fieldwork manager, who will then on your behalf conduct the interview from Pretoria telephonically. For these cases, you must please ensure then that the contact details provided by the owner for the staff and parents are accurately stated in the grant holder questionnaire. You can also consult questions 20 and 21 of the grant holder questionnaire in this regard. Now you will also be remunerated for the task at hand. For every questionnaire or survey that you complete with the owner, you will receive 200 rands per questionnaire. For every staff member interviewed, an additional 150 rands, and for every parent interviewed, an addition of 150 rands per questionnaire. So the training manual also then outlines an example based on the interview schedule of your payment. We mentioned that you will be interviewing the owner, one staff member and a parent for the Thokozani Creche, adding up to 200 plus 150 plus 150, 500 rands interview remuneration for the Thokozani Creche interview. For the Siamoya Daycare Center, the interview schedule clearly indicates that only the interviewer needs to be interviewed, which will add up to a payment of 200 rands for the interviewer, for the owner interview, and then in addition to that, another 200 rand for the Nkwalini Creche owner which you interviewed, adding to a total of 900 rands for interviewing the 3 creches. Very important once again to remember. Photo images must be taken of all 3 creches and must also then be submitted to your fieldwork manager who recruited you. Also, in case there are ECDs which are not located at the specific address, a blank questionnaire needs to be returned with a photo of the site where the ECD was supposed to be located. And in this instance, you will note from the training manual that you will be remunerated 100 rands. The training manual clearly shows that remuneration includes income tax, transport and incidental costs. A maximum of 2 days per beneficiary organization or ECD will be allowed to complete the interviews with the respondents. Completed questionnaires should be submitted on a weekly basis, with the first week starting after signing your contract. For remuneration purposes, please ensure that your name is printed at the end of the questionnaire, and you will see there's space provided for that to identify you as the interviewer. This will also help us to determine your remuneration. To ensure you are paid for the job, you need to complete an interviewer appointment and part-time contract. And for this, you need to complete the interviewer contract form, BMR 01 form. You need to complete a personal information form, BMR 03, which is also embedded in your training manual. And then you also have to complete a bank detail form with a bank stamp after completion and submission, BMR 04. All three of these documents are embedded in your training manual. If you cannot retrieve those, please request your fieldwork managers to send these as separate documents for you to complete and return. Once again, make sure that the bank detail form include the bank stamp of the bank with which you are banking. The video ends off with some general interviewer guidelines. Ensure that you have the following support material when departing for your interviews: a soft copy of the questionnaire or the survey links if you decide to do them online and submit them online, your identification card, which will be distributed to you at the time of your recruitment, as well as the letter of introduction signed by the NLC Commissioner and the CEO of the Bureau of Market Research to explain the background and to give authority to you as interviewer to conduct your work. We are requesting you to always dress appropriately and to make sure that you are always safe. Do not enter any premises where you feel uncomfortable or sense any form of danger. So after reaching the beneficiary organization, the ECD, the creche that you will be visiting, for example, introduce yourself in a friendly manner to any adult older than 18 years, and you will present yourself as the interviewer assisting the Bureau of Market Research at the University of South Africa in conducting the assessment study for the National Lotteries Commission. Request then to talk to the project owner, to be interviewed then, and if not available, you also welcome, if available, to interview instead the owner, the school governing body member, or a senior person who deals with NLC project funding. You will, at the time of your introduction, explain the purpose of your visit, the aim of the survey, which is also outlined in your letter of introduction and emphasized in this training manual, and then how the respondent was selected. The letter of introduction, you will also note, is accessible at the start of each questionnaire. I would like to conclude the video by saying that you will be appointed as a part-time interviewer of the NLC Impact Assessment Study. For ethical reasons, all questions submitted by yourself will be scrutinized and followed up to validate the accuracy of information collected during your interviews. Once the Bureau is satisfied with your work, your payment will be processed by the end of December 2019. You are not allowed to share any information collected during the surveys with anyone, not with your spouse, friends, or family. Please note that your fieldwork manager will always be available, so ensure that you have the contact details of your fieldwork manager when conducting your task. The Bureau of Market Research would like to thank you for your willingness to assist with this study. The successful completion and quality of interview work will largely be determined and will also give you an opportunity for future appointment for other surveys conducted by the BMR. This video is video number 1 of the training for the National Lotteries Commission's Impact Assessment Study. I thank you and wish you all of the best with your interviewing task. Greetings from the Bureau of Market Research at the University of South Africa.